The mainstream media got the election completely wrong, while claiming Elon Musk and X were threats to American democracy. But could it be that X, with its more accurate and diverse coverage, was actually a better source of information than the traditional media outlets? Welcome to America Uncovered. I'm Chris Chappell. If you've only consumed the mainstream media, you would have been left with the impression that the 2024 election was a tight neck-and-neck race. At best, a coin flip between Trump and Harris. And of course, Harris would win. But as we all know by now, that coin flip was one of those trick double-sided coins with Trump on both sides. And yes, this is a real coin you can buy, because of course it is. So there's no way around it. The mainstream media got the election wrong. Like, really wrong. It turns out the Harris campaign and the Democratic Party failed spectacularly. This was like the end of the Infinity War for them, only when Trump snapped his finger, it wiped out more than half of Democrats in Congress. How could they have gotten it this wrong? Well, to put it simply, the mainstream media is out of touch. To illustrate exactly how out of touch they are with normal people, this Financial Times opinion piece said U.S. voters would appreciate the strength of the U.S. economy. I understand if you need to pause because you got a case of the giggles. I did the first 89 times I read that quote. The media tried to tell voters that the economy was growing at a robust rate up to the election, all while dismissing people's concerns over inflation. But that didn't work. It was so obvious they were trying to pull the wool over people's eyes, they didn't realize eyes weren't necessary to see it was the exact opposite, with both Trump and the economy. Gaslighting about the economy being great doesn't really work when articles about it are hidden behind a paywall most people can't afford. Okay, so they got the election and voters' view on the economy wrong. So what? Couldn't be much worse than that, could it? Well, many claimed Harris would win with most major demographic groups, but then she lost most of them instead, including women, those sexist, misogynistic women. But let's not forget to give the MSM credit where it's due. They did get the date of the election right. And this is all in stark contrast to X, which painted a much more accurate picture of how the election was going. Well, X and betting markets. Do you know how bad you have to mess up to have Twitter and degenerate gamblers be the voice of reason? One of those betting platforms, Polymart, had Trump beating Harris long before the mainstream media picked up on it. So looking back, while people on X were making correct predictions, the mainstream media was flopping like a fish out of water. You know it's bad when Democrats, like the writer of this article, feel betrayed by their party. That screams there's a problem. But you definitely wouldn't have thought that was the case if you only consumed mainstream media content. It certainly didn't help that the media kept downplaying legitimate concerns of migrant crime by suggesting that more immigration meant less murder, and saying migrants commit crimes at lower rates than American citizens. And isn't it just like the MSM to miss the entire point of why so many people are angry with migrant crime? People aren't upset simply because migrants are committing crimes. They're frustrated because these are crimes that could have been avoided in the first place if illegal immigrants hadn't been let in, which in of itself is a crime. It's almost like the mainstream media outlets live in one giant echo chamber, telling each other the same narratives over and over again. Amazingly similar narratives, like why people must endorse Harris, and how Trump must have won because of misogyny and racism, all those misogynistic women and racist Black and Latino voters, totally for not any other reason.
And there is racial bias in this country, and there is sexism in this country.
There's misogyny.
There are levels of sexism and racism that clearly a lot of people in this country are willing to tolerate.
Misogyny, racism, and xenophobia.
Wow, what an original take. These are just some examples of the countless number of things making people distrust the mainstream media. Voters were also really tired of hearing what celebrities think. In fact, celebrities endorsing Harris might have driven even more voters to Republicans, though we can't underestimate the endorsement power of Hulk Hogan, brother. So at the end of the day, people are just tired of news coverage that looks more like propaganda that just so happens to align perfectly with the Democratic Party, denying reality outright, and claiming wild things like how right before Election Day, Harris had executed an exceptional campaign flawlessly. Yeah, saying she wouldn't change a thing about Biden's wildly unpopular record. Flawless victory. She had really strong fundamentals. Do they mean being able to stick to the exact same script? Is that what shows you've got the fundamentals right?
Should never again stand behind
But hey, at least she put the fun in fundamentals. Joy! People want to make sense of why things seem to have gone wrong in the US without the one-sidedness, and they don't trust the mainstream media to give good explanations. So they had to look elsewhere, to places like X. And if you've been following the news like me through X, you may have already picked up on the fact that the odds were not in Democrats' favor. With the mainstream media entering its tailspin, for many, the best way to be informed is through watching America Uncovered, but it doesn't hurt to have an X account. According to the Pew Research Center, it's the go-to app for breaking news as it's happening. Not to mention all the memes. Oh, the memes! If the MSM wants to compete, one of those M's should stand for memes. The really great thing about X is that it gives people access to diverse information and viewpoints, enabling them to draw their own conclusions, something that's increasingly difficult with the mainstream media pushing a one-sided narrative. Pew also tells us almost 30% of X news consumers say they get news they would not have gotten elsewhere without X. And this is a good thing. It helps people see blind spots in order to come to more nuanced understandings of the world. And it's no surprise the mainstream media doesn't like this. They don't like it when people, especially those from the political right, don't conform to the viewpoints they have or take their market share. That's why the mainstream media labels X a pro-Trump echo chamber with a right-wing lurch. Lurch is right-wing? I always assumed the Addams family supported Biden since he's also often mistaken for a zombie. But the fact is, there's plenty of left-leaning voices and Trump critics on X. Cenk Uygur is on X, and he knew what was coming because of it. So while the MSM may want you to think differently, according to the Pew Research Center, X news consumers are about evenly divided by party. But it's not like mainstream media outlets care. They can't stand people freely posting online opinions they disagree with. It's almost like they think they have freedom of speech or something. Unacceptable. That's why they associate X with the magic M word. Memes. Misinformation. Full of falsehoods, which clearly needs suppression. Censorship. Content moderation to fix its issues.
Well, it would help if we could regulate social media, because one of the biggest offenders is D.C. and Congress have not been able to do one thing in regard to the rogue corporations of social media.
It's not going to get any better with Elon Musk now in the administration.
If the platforms, whether it's Facebook or Twitter X or Instagram or TikTok, whatever they are, if they don't moderate and monitor the content, we lose total control.
Hillary Clinton wants to kill something to maintain control? That's a first. Also, I'm not suicidal. No reason why I just told you that. Now look, is there a ton of misinformation on X? Of course. What platform doesn't have misinformation? Speeches from Obama have misinformation.
Who said that there were very fine people on both sides of a white supremacist rally.
Even Snopes has discredited that. The mainstream media is itself quite guilty of spreading misinformation as well. You can see some examples in this episode, link is below. No matter what the platform is, there's always the risk of people coming up with wacky ideas based on whatever they read online. But people are fed up with the lies and gaslighting of the MSM. They're tired of elites telling them to accept the status quo and what they say at face value, and treating them like uneducated idiots for disagreeing with them. That's why many celebrate apps like X that allow diversity of thought. It empowers people to find truth and hold elites accountable, instead of just taking their word for it and leaving things up to a coin toss. And before YouTube kicks you to some random video, check out the latest episode of my show Deep Thoughts While Gaming, where I hide controversial topics in video game content. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thank you for watching America Uncovered.